So students, today I have with me Jill Pryor, who is the Principal Legal Officer of the Law and Advocacy Centre for Women. Jill, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure.
So Jill, the LACW, Law and Advocacy Centre for Women, can you tell me what it actually does?
Well, the Law and Advocacy Centre for Women is a criminal law defence practice catering solely to women, dealing in criminal matters from a defence perspective, intervention orders, VOCAT matters, victims of crime, and infringement matters, but with a therapeutic focus built in to that practice.
So how was the LACW set up? How did it come about?
It came about because myself and the co-founder and my colleague Ellie Pappas had worked together for a significant number of years at the Aboriginal Legal Service in Victoria, and were looking at where there were gaps in service delivery in Victoria. And at that time, which was only about 3 years ago that we started to look at this, there was a significant and obvious increase in the number of women presenting before the courts and ending up in prison. And we spoke about this and wondered why there wasn't a gendered response to women before the courts. And that's where we came up with a model that saw both a therapeutic arm and a legal arm running side by side to address that very specific cohort of people before the courts, that being women.
How hard was it to actually set up a legal centre, if you like, from scratch? Two people get together to see there's a need in the marketplace. How hard is it to technically actually do that?
Very easy and very difficult, I think. I mean, Ellie's much more pragmatic and sensible than I am, and I'm more, it should be able to be done, there's a need, how difficult could it be? But actually there's a number of steps and processes, and because we're a not-for-profit organisation and a community legal centre, there were all of those steps that we needed to go through to be accredited, to become a member of the Federation, to get not-for-profit status. All of those preliminary stages, I guess, were the most time-consuming. The actual cut and thrust of running a practice is really, I guess in the most simplest terms, having a phone and waiting for clients to come. The practicalities and behind-the-scenes setup is much more time-consuming, but from the front end, it's really about addressing the needs of individuals. We were well versed in doing that, and once we had a place to plug a phone line in, we were able to start taking clients, and we've been very lucky along the way, really, by virtue of a number of supports, organisations who have supported us, including pro bono support for the mechanics of setting up a legal practice, but also the support of agencies like the Federation, Legal Aid, RMIT, Centre for Innovative Justice. All of those very positive associations along the way meant that our pathway was much smoother than it could have been, I guess.
And in catering to the holistic needs of your clientele, you've gone down the path of a multidisciplinary approach where you have not just lawyers but also social workers and other support workers assisting your clients. Do you think multidisciplinary approaches are the way of the future as far as the legal profession is concerned?
Well, look, and the reason that we developed a practice in this way, and it's not rocket science, but it was born of a combined significant experience in dealing with clients who are before the courts, who are not presenting with simple life issues. Generally speaking, if somebody's before the courts, there's a whole range of other issues that are underpinning their presentation, and to simply address them through a court appearance, through the finalisation of a legal matter, in our experience, was not really dealing with anything. It was simply putting a band-aid on, putting them back out on the street and saying good luck, with housing, with mental health issues, with financial issues, with health issues sometimes, with issues around children. And so to not have that additional support for our clients seems really remiss in terms of giving them a full service in terms of the legal issues, because it adds a preventative layer. It ought to in any event. And so it's the way that I've always believed is the way to deal with people presenting before the justice system, and it's only been enhanced by the fact that we've been able to practice in that way, and the significant changes that we've been able to see in our clients by having an additional limb of social workers on board, which was not available initially, so that came later. But the moment it did, the capacity to draw on those additional services is significant, and it means we've been able to access housing, other mental health services, and free up the time that the lawyers need to look at the legal issues, and allow the social worker to come into play and develop a relationship of trust with the client to take them from both sides, really.
And what about yourself? Did you always want to do law as a young student at secondary school? Was it a dream to be a lawyer?
Look, I come from a family of social workers, really. There's no lawyers in my family, which is probably a good thing. And when I did an arts degree, and as most people do, and when I decided to go on and take up a graduate place in law, I remember ringing my parents and telling them, and they said, we always knew you would do that, but we had to wait for you to realise. I don't know, I guess it was always there somewhere, but it's been I was really, really pleased to have the opportunity to take up the place at La Trobe University, actually, and then to proceed in the way that I have, to go on to the Aboriginal Legal Service, spend over 11 years there, and then to be able to put in place Law and Advocacy Centre for Women. Really, I've been very fortunate in the way that my career has progressed, I guess.
Well, I think your clients are pretty fortunate to have someone as passionate as you. If you were to give one or two bits of advice to our students watching this, they're deciding where their career path might take them, what would those bits of advice be?
Don't be afraid of the scary parts of law, because they're there every day, and follow your passion. There's such significant and amazing work to be done, and the rewards that come from following a path that is difficult but rewarding will have much greater benefits long term. It will get you up in the morning, it will keep your fire in your belly going much longer than sort of trudging through doing something that you're not that interested in. So don't be afraid of taking a chance, and follow your passions.
There you go, students. Great piece of advice. Follow your passions. Don't be afraid of the hard bits of the law. They're there every day, but you'll be able to work your way through them, and you certainly, like Jill, can make a difference. Thanks for joining us.